So I've had this on, but it's not on really at the moment. It's maintaining about 20 degrees. Might just be able to see that. And yeah, this, I found the resin it's really only just dried. It's nearly lost its tackiness now, but it's not really glued that together. I'll have to think about that again. If you look at the original resin that was just a little test pot, it's rock hard. It was rock hard definitely within a day. But this is the one I've put on, and you can see, I mean, that's actually better than it was even earlier this morning, but you can see, look, it's still flexible. Yeah. So I think we're lucky we only did a little bit of this. There's not enough hardener in it. But I definitely pulled it through. So moral of the story, I may put a little bit more hardener in the next batch. Otherwise we're going to be here. It should be hard after 3 days. So there we go. But anyway, it's good enough for us to get the box glued together today. So these I'm going to try and whiz off with, probably best to whiz that off with a Dremel. And then we'll get the box stuck together. Okay, they're nice and flush. Little tiny little bits on some of them. They're not too bad. This is all going to be covered with a layer of epoxy and fiberglass, so it doesn't have to be perfect. Just sort of, some are a little bit raised, but most of them are okay. So let's start making the box now. So here we are, we're back. Here we go, we're back. So I'm going to use these like little copper tacks and waterproof wood glue. I'm just going to stick these together as best I can. Now if I can tack them together, I should be okay. So I'm going to start off with this side, then do the front, that side, and then the back. But also putting enough on so it actually does work. So it's a nice thin. That's it. Can always wipe it off. Like that. Okay, so I think that's going to be okay. That went so well, I think I might actually do the other side now, the same, and then put the front and back on last. There we go. So that's this one done. The only issue I've got, you can see, there's a little gap there. I should have cut that straight, shouldn't I? But you know what, it's going to be fine. The box itself is really nice and solid. Right, here we are. Box done. I've actually sanded these corners down and blended them in, so the top actually sits quite nicely on there. We're going to do two epoxying things today. We're going to use this 404 filler this is better for filleting, and it's also better for sort of filling voids, although it's not the, there's a slightly different one if that's what you're going to do, but this should do the job. These voids are very, very small. So we're going to mix those up first, do the little fillets, and then we'll just mix a little bit more epoxy up and just paint over the general surface. I mean, if this epoxy's not too thick, we could even use that to paint over the surface, I don't know. Once we've done that, that'll be the job done for today, and then we'll come back, hopefully tomorrow that'll go off, and then we'll get a little bit of, and then we'll look at the outside really, and then we're almost there, aren't we? It's very close to being finished now. So we're going to try and make, I think they refer to it as peanut butter. Oh, I wonder what that funny thing was in here. I found out it's a little scoop. That's handy. So we're going to put one scoop in. We're going to see what happens. So there's a really good website called, I can't remember what it's called, I'll try and put it in the comments. And I've learned literally all my epoxying off this guy. He's brilliant. Boat Shed Works, I think it's called actually. And he kind of says this, you need a jam, Nutella, and then peanut butter. So we need a little bit more. You have to be mindful though, the more of this you put in, the weaker you do make the epoxy. So whether that applies to what I'm doing, I don't know, but you know, as long as you're mindful of that. Whoopsie. Right, and then all I'm now going to do is fill it inside here with a little bit of this. And just get these sort of edges nice and filleted up. Now, you haven't seen any of that, so let's get this camera in here. As you can see, you're going to be upside down. I'm using this spatula just to get rid of the edging there, like so, and then you can see I'm just using the actual spatula to do the little fillet shape, and that's good enough for me like that. And then you can sand it down if you need to. So there we go, that's one kind of little edge fillet done, and these are the ones with the gaps in. So I'm trying to push a little bit through on these. Then the trick is to sort of just sponge it in and then fillet it up. Squeeze it in and fillet it up. So there we go. There's all the edges inside the box filleted. Let's hope that sort of sets and goes together. As with everything else, epoxying and fiberglassing is like, you know, 10% actually doing it and 90% actually waiting for it to dry. So yeah, there we go. We'll leave that in here, and hopefully by tomorrow morning it'll be dry enough to go over with a little coat of epoxy. Right, we've got some good news and some bad news. Well, potential bad news. Bad news, the good news first. The ratio of epoxy to hardener is actually 5:1, but it's not 5 strokes of this to 1 of that. That's what I've been getting wrong. This actually has 5 parts in it, and that is 1. So actually it's for every 1 of these you need 1 of those. So that's where I've been going wrong. Now, very interesting, because this, I think we're going to get away with this. It's not structural. It's going to get covered up, and I think we'll be okay. But the filleting we've just done is another matter. I'm just trying to think now. I did 2 of these and a little bit more, 2.5, but I did 1 full stroke of that. So I've actually only got half the resin, half the hardener I should have in this. And as you can see, even though it's probably going to be better than before, it it's probably going to take a while to cure. So I think the best thing for me to do is leave it. I think if it's not going to cure, it'll be easier to scrape off when it's a little bit firmer anyway, and then we'll see. We'll see how it is in the morning, and we'll take it from there. But at least we've unlocked the puzzle now of why that wasn't working. Yeah. Okay. Right, there we go. So let's leave it. Let's come back tomorrow and see what happens, and then we'll take it from there, I think. Right, next day. So actually, I've just brought this. I forgot about the little holder here. This has actually cured quite well. Interestingly, the resin didn't fill the hole. It must have been an air bubble in there. So we need to refill that little hole up as well. But it's actually looking quite good. I think it needs a little coat on the side. It's really soaked it in on the side. Needs a bit more on that side. On the bottom it looks kind of okay. Just needs another coat. On the top is okay. We'll probably have to put a little bit of varnish over the top of that. So let's just pop that back over there. And then in the box, these fillets are, I mean, they are drying. Actually, in the last couple of hours, they've really seemed to have set off. We've got to smooth off these corners, otherwise we're never going to get any fiberglass around them. So what have I got on here? I think this is 120 grit. Let's see if that does the job. Whoop. There we go. So that's nice and rounded. Don't know if you can see that. Actually, my light's a little bright. Let's get that light down a bit. So it's nice and rounded. So we'll give the fiberglass a good chance of getting round there. I've also just tried to sand this bit that was a little bit over, so that's nice and flush now as well. So 3 more to do. There we go, all nice and smoothed off, nice rounded corners. Gives it a fighting chance of taking a little bit of epoxy and fiberglass around the sides. And there's the bottom I had to do as well. So that's nice, that's all done. So I've done 5 pumps of each this time. Let's hope we get this right. And then I'm mixing this for a good minute to 2 minutes. Been about a minute now already. And you see I'm going to scrape it all off the sides, all at the bottom of the container. I can feel this kind of warming already, I think. So that's a good sign. Now, I don't have much pot life in this. This is the fast hardener. I think we've got about 30 minutes, roughly. So let's pop that in. That'll do that. So first of all, what we've got to do is wet the surface. And what we need to do, the reason we wet the surface is because we need the wood to soak up some epoxy. If it doesn't, then the thing you're epoxying, or the fiberglass, won't stick, because the wood will just suck all the epoxy out, and there'll be nothing kind of left for the fiberglass to stick to. So we're being kind of liberal here. You know, I think more is better. I hope I've done enough. Now I'm paying particular attention to these edges. We're just going to go over these edges now, because these edges are sort of raw wood, and they perhaps, you know, they've got the ability to really suck the epoxy up. So we'll go to town on those a little bit. I've got a little bit extra there, I didn't realise there. So we shall do this piece again. Just try and see if we can get some room down here. Now we need to get some dripped down there, don't we? Because we didn't get all the way down that hole for some reason. And obviously a little airlock, so this is actually doing it a bit slower. Just need to just want to block that hole up, because we're going to drill a brand new hole for the little cup. To see if we can get a little bit more in there. I think so. I think that's full. So I've just come back. It's been about half an hour, good half an hour actually. And let's have a little look here. Now I did slap it on a bit on the top here, but that's getting quite tacky. Ooh. Yeah, it's very tacky. First thing I'm going to do is just lay this down, put a little bend in it, a little fold in it. I'm not massively into chopped strand fiberglass. It does sort of seem to come apart when I manhandle it. So there we go. We're just going to lay it down. We're just going to see if we can get that to just sort of stick to the fiberglass, really, to the epoxy, which, yeah, it does quite well, even just on its own there. So let's mix some more epoxy up. One. Okay, let's start to work this in. And actually a lot of people I've noticed do pour a little bit. In fact, I'm not going to do that. I nearly did then. I'm going to dab it on. It's much more controlled this way. Now I'm aware I've got a little bit of a little sort of raised seam there. And then we just sort of dab it on. This is called wetting the glass fibre. My problem is I try and get the perfect job, like right the way. And actually what you should do is just don't worry if there's a little strand sticking up. Don't necessarily worry about that. You know, you can chop them down. It all sands very easily. So, you know, you worry about that later when you tidy up, when it's cured, really. I'm not used to it. It's 20 degrees in here. I'm so not used to that. I'm like sweating in this fleece. There we go. Okay, and I think that's pretty well wetted actually. Okay, that's all the corners done. So now I'm just feeling this box is still nice and tacky. Just been smoothing it all down on the sides here. And what we'll do, we'll put 2 sheets on here. Okay. And then let's get that to there. Hopefully we can get 2 pieces of this bottom out. Yes, we should. Okay. We are running out of epoxy. I don't know if we're going to have enough to do this top, but we're going to give it a good go. So in case any of you are wondering why I'm epoxying and fiberglassing this box, there's for 2 reasons really. The first reason is for waterproofing. So I actually need the box to be waterproof. So that's the first reason. And the second reason is just for a bit of strength, really. So yeah, this will just give it like superhuman strength, really, which is, you know, okay, the wood's probably more than adequate, but I think if you're going to epoxy over the wood, like I've done with my little tiller pilot stand over there, I think if you're going to epoxy anyway, you may as well stick a bit of fiberglass mat on it. There is a third reason as well, which is I've got loads of epoxy, loads of fiberglass mat, so we need to make use of it. Is that the other piece? There we go. Yeah, that'll do, mate. Let's just maybe move it that way. There we go. So we're just going to crack on, getting all this matting on. We're going to do 2 coats of this as well, and then we're going to let the whole thing cure, and hopefully it'll cure overnight, with the temperature being 20 degrees in here. And we can actually keep working then and finish off the inside of the box. Once we've done the inside of the box, which I'm just giving a little coat of epoxy, nothing more. And that's really just in the event that we get a bit of water ingress, the wood, you know, just won't you know, get exposed to water, which, you know, would ultimately, you could then damage the wood. The wood would start to soak up the water and distort it, so, and then that would probably ruin the box, to be honest with you. So this little bit of effort is well worth it. You can actually see it when you have soaked it enough. You can actually see it. You know, you can see. I guess it's experience, isn't it? Even in this short time, you start to sort of understand the behaviour of everything. Yeah, so I thought I had some air under there. It's actually epoxy. If anything, I've possibly put too much epoxy on. Right. Leave me to it. We shall see the finished product in just 2 ticks. There we go. 1 box with 2 coats of fiberglass and epoxied, and I'm kind of chuffed with that. As long as that cures properly, then I am very pleased with that. So got to let that cure overnight, and we'll come back to it tomorrow. Fingers crossed it'll be nice and cured. Oh, I'm trying to work out where the lights are here so they don't get in my face. So yeah, we'll come back tomorrow and the box will continue tomorrow. Right then, so it's about, well, it's 4 o'clock. So when did we do this? About 10 o'clock. It's about 6 hours then, and it's kind of dry. It's a tiny little bit sticky in places. What I've been doing is where the drip had collected on the bottom here, I've just been, it's still sort of soft enough, the epoxy, just to give it a little slice. I obviously don't want to cut my fingers while I'm talking to you. This inner stuff is sort of, that's definitely hardened on that side. So we're going to very quickly, we're going to mix up some epoxy and do the inside. Well, we can use one of these. I have these soups like every day during the week, like vegan soups, and they are not only quite yummy and tasty, but they're really good for you, and you save the pots, because when you know you've got a bit of epoxying to do, or they're really good for just putting brushes and a bit of brush cleaner in them as well, and they come in quite handy. There we go. There we go. We'll see how that goes, but we'll leave that whole box now to dry, just so it'll dry and we can actually do the whole lot. I think that should hold. I think I've just got enough epoxy here to give this a little coat, and this will be a good job done. I feel there's a really good layer of epoxy on here actually. There we go. Right, now we just go over where my little pinkies have been. Job done. There we go. Right, we'll leave all that for tomorrow.